Hello everyone, Amanda here, thanks for joining me. So today's video is showing how I made this little clutch and kind of holder for my 5-piece Shabby Chic journal set. I decided I wanted to make something before I sent it away to the lady, to its new home. I've added this little charm with an M on because that's the name of the lady, and yeah, it's been made out of the leftovers. So it's just a little pot, a little pouch type thing. This is made out of fabric snippets, and believe it or not, the little bag is made out of a book page. So let me show you how it's been made. Okay, so how I'm going to make the base of whatever I end up with, I'm not 100% sure yet. I've got a bit of an idea at this stage. I'm using a large double spread of book page, and this is from the Flowers of the World. Now, I do sell journal filler kits on my Ko-fi site, and there are some pages from this larger book in there, along with some other large pages like map pages, etc. And they're perfect for things like this, for large collage when you need something just a bit bigger than a standard journal size. So this is a 12 by 12, for example. So this is bigger. Okay. By the time I've collaged it, it'll be nice and sturdy because it'll be getting collaged on both sides. The inside will probably just be a book page or dictionary page, and then the outer will be decorative. And I'm going to use up my leftovers from the sample kits that I used to create. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is assess kind of how deep I need it. I don't know if it's going to just be a wrap or whether I'm going to put sides on. I've got a kind of an idea, but I don't need it as wide as this, so I'm just going to get a pencil and I'm going to roughly mark, because I can always trim it further afterwards if needs be, but there's no point collaging on a part that I don't need. Okay, so it's about there. Alright, and I'm just going to collage the full length because I'm not 100% sure yet if I'm making a wrap or a box or a bag. I've not decided. So I've made my little mark there, so all I need to do now is just fold my book page that way and just trim that bit off. Now obviously, you know, I won't waste that because I might use it for a closure of some sort. I don't know. If not, I can use it in my other projects. So I've got my cup of tea and I'm gonna get collaging. I will very most likely speed it up. I might cut out the internal bit and only show you the external bit. I don't know, we'll see how we go, but I'll do it as fast as I can. Off we go. Okay, so we're off with the collage. I'm just grabbing some dictionary pages and I'm going to, in the first instance, just use a glue stick. It's nice and cheap and cheerful, and it doesn't get your pages all wet and soggy. Whereas if you use a matte medium or PVA, it makes everything wet. Glue sticks are more than adequate for this first layering, and then we will put matte medium over the top, and we've done to seal it all. And so this is going to be the inside, and so I'm just putting plain dictionary pages, just putting them in different directions, just not that anybody's going to see the inside, but just because I know it's there. I like to just do it a bit different. So we're just literally adding that on, super simple, and then trim off the excess. Nothing difficult, nothing fancy needed for the inside of whatever I'm creating. Well, as you've seen in the beginning, you know that I end up with a kind of clutch pouch for the books. At this point, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I was going to make. I just knew it was going to be some form of wraparound and that I'd need a nice long piece, which is why I've chosen this fabulous book page. So I'm putting my collection together. This is the 5-piece Shabby Chic journal set that I've made. If you've not seen my videos on this, there will be links in the description box below, and also there will be a playlist as a suggested video at the end. If you stay to the end, I'd be really grateful. So there's quite a lot of components to this, so do stay to the end so that you don't miss anything. And what I'm doing here is I'm marking in my own mind which direction I need my collage to go, because the top part is going to fold down for a flap and the bottom part will fold up, and I want my collage to run in the right direction. So in essence, I don't want the parts of the collage that are going to show at the front to be upside down. And if I don't mark it, I will forget and I'll end up with upside down pictures, and I don't particularly want that. Not that it matters, but I just want it to be really nice because it's going to a customer who purchased my journal before I'd even finished completing it. She's bought it unseen, and I just wanted to make that little bit of an extra effort. I had said that I was not emotionally ready to do anymore with this kit, but you know, after a good night's sleep, I thought about it and decided I wanted just something nice. It's just to present them in, so that when they go in the post, it's something nice when the lady opens it. And you know, I do like to try and go that extra mile when I know it's going to that my journal's going to a home, as just a little sign of gratitude to people who buy my things that I make and things that I sell. So there is also a link to my Ko-fi or coffee, I think it's Ko-fi, in the description below, where I do sell bits and bobs as well. So I've layered front and back now with basic book page and dictionary. So now I'm going in with some more decorative elements and I'm layering over, and this will help strengthen the structure, you know, because it was just a book page underneath. So by layering up, it's making it a bit thicker. It's bringing in elements of the kit, the same that I've used in the contents that's going inside, so that it all coordinates nicely and it's apparent that it's from the same, you know, the same collection. And it's just adding some colour to my pouch and some interest. I really love that duck egg blue. Absolutely love it. I think it's really pretty. So yeah, I'm just using little bits of basically what I've got left over, stuff that I've already printed, you know, and that I've not used, so that it's not necessarily just tiny scraps, although I do use the scraps. Some of the things are leftover complete printables, not necessarily scraps. So yeah, so I'm just having a think about what I'm going to do and how I'm going to make it. There's a natural fold in the centre of that book page there, because it's a double spread layout, which I struggle with a few times, because that's where it wants to naturally fold and it's not where I want it to fold. So you know, I've got to do some readjustments, and yeah, there's no measuring, everything's just done by eye, and it just is what it is. It's basically a clutch made to just wrap around the size of what's going in it. Nothing's fancy. And as you see, I'll attach some sides to it just to make it into a, you know, like a purse type structure. So here I'm adding on some of the lovely digital letters. So this is again all in French, because it's part of the French Haberdashery and French Bureau kit from Sampool. Really enjoyed using this kit. Really enjoyed it. The dictionary page, unfortunately, isn't French. That is English. I've looked and looked and looked for French dictionary pages, and I cannot find one anywhere. It's quite bizarre. Maybe people in Huddersfield just don't, you know, don't part with their French dictionaries, because I normally get all of my books from charity shops. I don't know. It might be something that I might have to create some French dictionary pages myself, digitally maybe, so that I've got them in the future. But yeah, so you're just covering with a blank canvas really, and then add bits of the kit as you know, decoration. And I kind of go for quite a common rule of 3. So basically I'll do 3 things and stagger them, and it tends to look nice. It just tends to work. Yeah, so we've got some images there. I've put one, you know, they're in different directions to suit the way the layout's going to go. So I do tend to put things down in 3s and space them out. And that's how I manage to get kind of a balanced and even look, by going in 3s. lots of collage, lots of ripping, and I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. I just made sure that I had some, along with the plain writing and the plain book page, that I had some decorative parts to add interest, so it's not just a plain boring dictionary or writing kind of a page. You want something, you want some colour, you want some interest. So yeah, so these are like little pricing labels. As I say, I do things in threes, so it didn't suit there, so I've added it on the back. And I really do like this blue invoice. I think I will use this in other works that I do that are nothing to do with French haberdashery, because I love the colour of it. I think it really gives a bit of a lift to what sometimes if you're doing shabby chic or vintage, you can end up quite almost monotone with no colour. And you know, shabby chic especially does have quite a lot of colour. It's not all just cream and white, blues and pinks, it's muted tones. And with vintage as well, I don't want to just end up with just boring brown. So what I'm doing here is I'm just getting, I use a big paintbrush to dry brush my gesso, and this is how I manage to get nice results. If I use a roller, I end up with lines. I don't know, if I use a sponge, it gets too wet. So I find that if I use a very dry big brush like so, and then also smoosh it with my hands and a bit of tissue, I get this nice kind of what I want, which is like a dreamy look, kind of. And what it does, the gesso, is it's giving added texture to your pages, but it also, if you put it around your collaged images, it kind of blends the edges together so that they'll look like they've been, you know, like they're meant to be like that, rather than they've just been stuck together. So it just gives a little bit of cohesion, I think. And also I'm hoping it was going to help stop the ink run as much, because I'm going to seal that side of the page with some gel medium, just to protect it, and so that if anything gets spilled or splashed on it or anything like that, it should just wipe clean. Just a little bit of added protection. But you do need to be careful with the gel medium, because sometimes if you're just using a standard printer, it can make the colours run. So I'm just gessoing the inside. I know nobody's going to see it, but you know, I know it's there, and so you know, I've just got to make sure it's done right. So here I'm just going through and I'm touching with my hands to feel if there's any air bubbles, you know, and then rollering it flat and drying it out and making sure that that page is fully dry, because there's nothing worse than cutting your paper when it's not fully dry and it's all soggy. So here we are, I'm having a think, and that's why the page just seems to want to fold, which I'll have to try and think of a way of resolving that. So here I'm just adding the gel matte medium. It's a Liquitex one, that's what I'm on with at the moment. And you can see me wiping in between, and that's because it's lifting some of the colour from the printed images, especially that very dark dress form there. It lifted quite a lot, and it actually smudged it a little bit, so I went and tidied it up slightly. You can't tell once it's finished and once it's dried, and that just gives that a layer of protection, and also make sure that if I've got any loose edges from collaging, that they're nice and firmly stuck down. So I've just got to really dry that, make sure it's totally and utterly dry before I go on to the next step. So here we are, I've skipped the drying, and I'm just assessing the size that I need for what I want to do. I'm just having a play with it and manipulating it and seeing if I can kind of fold to make a gusset. I end up with 2 fold lines, which are roughly where I want them, and then I'm lining those fold marks with fabric. It strengthens it, so that it's not going to tear or rip over time. It may well be that the lady that receives this doesn't really use the pouch, but I like to know that if I'm going to do a job, I'm going to do it properly. I'm going to do it the best I can. And so I'm strengthening that, and I do the same on the other side. And these are just scraps of fabric, make them a bit shorter on the outside, so that they're not, you know, overtaking the images. Smoothing it all down with my bone folder. So I'm using the Fabri-Tac, trying to, well, it's actually Beacon, smooth it out so that there's no hard, you know, you can't feel hard lumps in the under the fabric, because I am then going to go and sew all of this on my sewing machine. So I'm just rounding the corners there to make it neater, although that punch doesn't really like all of these layers, to be honest. And then what I'm going to do is, well, there you go, I've skipped a stage. I've gone to my sewing machine and I have sewn along each edge of the fabric strips that I've added, and I've sewn all the way around the outer edge of the structure. So what I'm doing now, I'm trying to make 2 little side panels, and I've found some fabric snippets that I made quite a while back, and I'm trying to use those. I have to adjust this quite a few times to get it right and to get it level and to get it how I want. And I think I did end up taking it back apart and shortening those pieces a little bit, so that I got the right amount of fit, because I didn't want it to be, you know, really baggy. So I added a strip of fabric along the back to attach the pieces and to make it look neater. I did actually end up removing that because I had to readjust the side parts. So it's a case of keeping going and trusting the process and just adapting. Like I say, there's no measurements here. There's no specific way of doing it. It's just make it fit your project. And if you're making something like this, always make it after you've done your journals, after you've done whatever's going in it, because if you make it first and then your journal's too big to fit in, then you've wasted your time making it. So yeah, so I'm very much making this to fit exact. So once I add the journal and the file folders inside to have a look, I realise that there's another bit of a design fault, and that front panel is just a little bit too long and it's catching when I close it, so it doesn't sit nice. So what I decide to do is I'm removing the fabric, and I'm going to shorten it, and I'm also going to shorten that front panel ever so slightly. So it's all about readjusting until you're happy with what you've got. So because I've removed the fabric strip, it's left a bit of a gluey residue on the inside there, which I don't like. I don't want it to look, you know, like a sticky mess. So I've covered over and repaired it with some more of the lovely papers, and I'm reassessing the depth of the laces that I need for the side panel. So often when you're doing something that's customized to fit, you know, it's never been done before, you can't follow exact measurements, you can only follow the idea of something, and so it's very much trial and error, and you've got to readjust things as you go, because you are kind of basically making it up, and there's nothing wrong with that. So here we are, I have readjusted the length of those side pieces and found a better way to attach them so that they're more in line with each other. And what I've done is I've put some double-sided tape on just to tack those side pieces down. And then what I end up doing is I end up hand sewing them onto the sides to make sure that they're nice and firm and they're not going to come off. I'm a little bit out of shot here. I think as I went, it took me quite a while to make this, and as I was going, I was so invested in the project and so kind of deep in thought of how I can achieve what I wanted to achieve that I wasn't really paying attention to whether I was in shot or not. So I do apologise. So what I'm doing here is I would be hand sewing that fabric snippet onto the side with a very thin cotton and a small needle, and I do the same to the other side, and it just works. It's because of the way it's done, I couldn't do it on the sewing machine, and because it's card, if it was fabric I could turn it inside out, sew it on my sewing machine and then turn it the right way around, but because it's card, well, it's paper, you can't do that, and so I'm having to hand sew it whilst it's the right way around. So I do apologise that I'm out of shot a bit there. But yeah, if you doesn't, and all I've done is a basic running stitch or back stitch, you know, 5 or 6 stitches each side, and it's held that in place so that I'm confident that when my customer is taking her journal in and out of the little pouch, it won't all fall to pieces. So I've shortened that front panel there to make it a little bit shorter, and I did re-sew all the way across with my sewing machine. And here now I'm deciding how to do the closure, and so I put a hole on one side and a hole on the other with my crocodile, and add my metal rivets, eyelets. I don't know why I call them rivets, I'm sorry. Now you've got to be mindful of where you put in these, because the crocodiles only go so deep, so do think about that. Now I end up only using one of the eyelets in the end, because I wasn't quite happy with how the fabric sat when I used both holes at the same time. But there you go, you can see that my work, the journal collection, fits lovely and snug inside there now. It's not too big and it's not too small. It's just right, and that's because it's been custom made to custom sizes. So here I've got a long piece of sari silk, and I'm thinking, you know, that if I can put it through both eyelets like so, and then tie it, then that would be a nice closure. But for some reason it just doesn't sit right with me, and so I end up having a think. I undo it all, and yeah, that didn't work either. So then I'm thinking, well, how am I going to do that nicely? And so I end up just using just one hole. So what I'm doing here now, it looks like I've edited a bit out. I've got some adhesive trim. It's like crocheted trim that somebody sent me, and I'm just attaching that all the way around to make those edges even neater, because I want it to look really pretty, and add some softness to it, and add lace where I can. So we're just adding that all the way around, and it sticks beautifully. It does a wonderful job. You could add glue on as well, but I just didn't want it feeling like it was just a big hard piece of glue, because sometimes when you add lots of glue onto fabric, it can take some of the softness away, no matter how good quality your glue is. And I was absolutely determined I wasn't going anywhere near this project with hot glue. So that's tidied that up, and it just makes it look really pretty. I love the way that the images are showing there on the front with that lovely lady with the sewing machine in her hand. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. So then in the end I end up putting the sari silk just through the one hole, wrapping it all the way around, and then tying it in a bow at the front, and that works for me, and I like the look of it now. I'm adding my little charm with the little M on, for which is the for my customer's name. Hopefully she'll like it, and you know, she doesn't have to use the pouch. It's just I know that when it goes in the mail that all the things are protected, and you know, I've not just wrapped it in bubble wrap and left it as it is. I've made that little bit of extra effort. At the end of the day, when people are paying me money for my items, I like to make sure that they're done right and they're done pretty. So there we go. that's that completed. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a go. Thanks for watching. Bye.